It was so good to finally get to do this part of the project. I have been working this in my head for quite a while, getting everything ready, researching on how I want to do things, getting my tools ready, and finally the day was here. I think in the last video or the video before, I was hoping for an early spring or for frost to return and freeze everything over here so I could continue working. And it ended up being somewhere in between. Last week we had some amazingly cold and windy days. One of them grey and one of them sunny. And it was on this sunny day that I decided to come here and haul the big logs down here and actually start hewing the logs into beams. As you saw here, I spent a little time making sure that the logs were quite stable, putting some pegs into the ground to hold the trunks that the main logs are lying on. And the combination of this and then of course using the log dogs that Kim made me, I think it was a quite safe setup. I didn't feel there was anything off while working here. And I do understand that standing on top of logs, swinging a heavy sharp axe might look like not the most safe thing in the world. And I do recognize that. But I also must admit that I try and make every single swing of the axe a controlled motion, trying not to use more force than the axe gives by itself with the force of gravity, which also is one of the reasons why it makes sense to climb up onto the logs and hew in this way. So you use the gravitational force of the axe just falling down, biting into the wood. I spend most of the day working here on this one log. I don't think a log takes a whole day. Maybe it takes a few hours, 2 hours, 3 hours maybe to hew one of these logs into timber. But of course, while filming and when having to film everything, it just takes a long time. But by the end of it, I could feel that I was getting tired. And that's why at some point you see me switching from the big heavy axe to a smaller axe that I can easily control and where not so much is at stake with every strike or hit from the axe. So I do think about this safety thing, and I have to take care of myself for obvious reasons here, and everybody working with sharp tools have to take care. But I do feel that the work I did here was safe, and every swing of the axe, especially the ones next to my feet and when walking on the log itself, is a controlled motion where at least I don't feel that if this goes wrong, something could happen. And I know that probably everybody who ever got injured said something like this. And I'm not a safety expert here, but just to let you know that I'm concerned about this, and I try my best to be safe while I'm working here. And I must admit, it was fantastic to get all my woodworking axes out and just be able to get them all, to get to know them all better. Of course, I could have done, most of my axes could have done the whole job here. Everything from removing the bark to chopping in the notches to splitting off the main axis to clean cutting or planning the surfaces. But to feel these specialized tools come to their right at these different tasks is just fantastic. It was such a great experience with my woodworking axes. The big wedge-shaped one to split off the axis after cutting the notches. The heavy-duty one to cut the notches. My smaller regular hand axe for taking away what are they called? The little places where branches grew out of the trunk, and to take harder parts away. And of course the long-edged hewing axe that we fitted a new handle to in the last video. So even though this was quite a cold day and I had cold hands, I was nicely warmed up because this is quite heavy work. Even though I don't try to overdo it and just let the axes work by themselves, there is a lot of movement with the body. And sometimes, of course, you do put a little extra strength into a certain blow when there's a knot or something in the wood. This here is the second time in my whole life that I try to hew a log. I did the first one a few months back. It was in the beginning of December, I think. It went okay. I broke some handles. I had to figure out how to work this. and now this time the second one. I would say it's easier. I think I mentioned this a little while back. It is easier than I thought it was going to be. The difficult part, of course, is making sure that everything is straight, and I did have quite a hassle drawing my lines onto the wood. I think maybe I should have let these logs dry for longer, but taking the bark off right away, the surface of the wood is not dry, and I had some charcoal or some charred wood that I was trying to use as a marker to mark my line. It just didn't work. I tried rubbing charcoal onto the line, see if I could do this snap thing. Didn't work. I tried drawing with the charcoal itself. It barely worked. So initially, as you see, I started just letting my little guide string there. And of course, to nobody's surprise besides my own, I chopped through the string several times until realizing that was a bad idea. And then I just kept on trying with different knives and stuff to mark the line. But it was really hard to see. So that is one issue that I need to find a better solution for the future. And I can clearly see a massive difference from the first log to the second log here. They are none of them are as straight as I had dreamed of. And to a wide extent, I think I have to admit that is due to my lack of skill or lack of experience in how to do this nicely and to be persistent and consistent. But I was also surprised that actually I think the first log, it did quite a lot of twisting over the last few months here. I'm sure that there's a lot of tension relieved in the trunk when you hew it down, and I definitely can still use these logs. And number two, the one we did here in the video, is a lot better, a lot more straight and uniform than the first one, and I can use them both no matter. But I do need to find a way to be better at this for the future. And I know some of it is just practice and learning and gaining experience, and there might also be something with my way of measuring up and using the plumb line to make the vertical lines at the end of the wood that gives me the rough dimension of the finished timber. So I think there's many ways that I can improve this, but I just can't get over how much fun this was and how much I enjoyed this part of the process. I'm trying to think if there was anything else to say here in this video. Yeah, so far the weather is still nice, and I hope soon to do the last log. Then I have the 3 pieces, and in case you lost track here, the wood that I'm making right now are the 3. First of all, on top of each wall, I have 3 posts coming up from every wall with a tenon on top, and the wood we are carving here is going to come across like this and bite into these tenons with some mortises and hold the whole wall in place. So for both the outer walls there's going to be a log, and then in the middle of the structure to carry the roof there's going to be one as well. So that is the 3 pieces of timber we're working on here. And just to make sure, if you are in doubt, this is the look of one happy Viking reenactor and YouTuber who just had a fantastic time working with reconstructed Viking Age tools to produce timber straight from the forest. It's a really good feeling, and if you have just a tiny bit of inspiration or desire in you to try and do something like this, I just have to say go for it. It's satisfying, and I just feel like getting back to work and continue here. And I don't know if you watched the last video, and if you did not, I definitely recommend you to go back and watch that. That video is about preparing the work site here, and to make sure that my tools are sharp before starting a project like this. And the big hewing axe and my broad shaped splitting axe were in need of new handles, and in the last video I showed how to make handles, how to fit them with the wedges, and how to sharpen my tools here. So be sure to go back and watch that. If you're curious about the log dogs that you saw me using here, I have a video a few weeks back, I will link it here, where I discuss why am I using this slightly more modern way of securing the logs what are the safety reflections for doing this, and maybe even the possibility of the Vikings to have had something similar. We don't know for sure. But there's a video about me discussing this, and of course in that video you see the process of my good friend Kim, the master blacksmith, who's actually forging the exact log dogs that you see me using here. So be sure to give that a watch. So once again, thank you so much for joining me here on the work site, and thank you for being part of this step of the journey. It is very interesting to be building a small Viking house and to go into all these processes. But I can tell you that I would not be doing this if I did not know that you guys were along with me. I don't want to be doing this alone. So it's thank you so much for being part of this. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider visiting my Patreon page. In Patreon you can sign up for monthly membership, and there is early access to some of the YouTube videos. There is special posts about behind the scenes kind of things, other projects that will not make it to YouTube, and there is of course also some there is of course also some exclusive content, videos from places I've been or other Viking projects that are not available on YouTube. So for a small monthly donation, you can become a member and get access to all of this. If you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription to Patreon, you can also make a one-time purchase for some of the posts, especially the video posts. So for a one-time small contribution, you get access to some of this video material that otherwise is not available. And if you don't feel like this whole Patreon thing, I'm not going to hold you up on it. I totally understand it, and I'm still very thankful for you being part of the YouTube videos here. Don't forget to click the little like button, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to write a comment. All these things, you know it. And if you write a comment to me asking questions about something you saw here, or having input to some of the things I've been talking about, I am very, very grateful for that, and I will answer to the best of my ability. I really enjoy this community feeling that I get when answering and engaging in all this feedback and in the comments I get from you guys. So thank you so much. I have some interesting projects coming up. Next week I'll be filming somewhere else. It's a place you know, but it's not here. And I'll be bringing in a special guest, and we're going to talk about a special topic that we have not covered so much here on the channel yet. So I am very excited for that, and I think you should be as well. And until we see each other again, stay safe and stay tuned. See you soon. Before I go, there is one thing I want to ask. Is there any of you guys who know and can help me understand a bit better on how these trunks should be treated? Should I leave these trunks to dry more, like a year or something, before working them? Should I take the bark off, or should I leave the bark on? And what is the best way of handling this time thing? Is it, I have a feeling it's best to hew the logs when they're quite fresh, so the fibers are not so stiff in the wood. But I don't know if that's the right way to go, and how to avoid this twisting after hewing. Is that a matter of seasoning the timber a bit more? What is it about? I would like some help with that. So if you know, let me know, and I'll be very, very thankful for that.